Hi everyone, let's review what we talked about yesterday. Okay, preferences first. So the option mattered yesterday was this option. Let's just check it for now. And the other option was that use legacy file new interface. Then type. We are not doing the typography yet, but maybe it is just better changing it to a smaller units. I should say smaller increment for now. And units, we talked about changing it to pixels. To leave the rest the way it is, it really doesn't matter. Talked about pixel, 1 pixel equals 1 point about the same size, and 12 points is 1 pica, and 6 pica is 1 inch. So therefore, 1 inch is 72 points. And screen resolution, typically when we set it, 72 dpi. So that's just the numbers that you might just remember. And when it comes to actual doing the work, I don't think points and picas, they matter so much anymore. Even for print design, I don't think the pica is being used. Not, I don't think pica is being used as much. So we have a millimeters and centimeters. This is just the default unit, so we can always change it within the document settings. So you can just leave it the way it is. We did talk about guides and grid. Again, this helps. If you want to change different colors, that's fine too. For me, I prefer dots rather than the hard line. So you can just change that. Smart guides, again, you can turn it on and off if the lines popping up are too intrusive. And also slices was for the web. And scratch disks, you can just pick whatever the disk that has fastest speed. So typically SSD, or if it's just regular hard disk, then maybe some hard disk with some space left. So user interface, one thing we talked about was open documents as tabs, or if you uncheck it, then it will be just floating windows, so you can kind of move things around, or you can just have documents as tabs. Okay, so say okay. So let's create a new document. And in a new document, you can change unit to inches so that it's more familiar to us. You have either portrait or landscape. We're gonna use landscape for now. And advanced, we talked about printing or digital design, etc. For now, we'll just use the CMYK. So first thing we took a look at was items under window menu. Here are the palettes that you can have it just floated. Let's say color. This color palette, you can also dock it like that. And also, we wanted to say if you want to use a type, there's a type palette. And another thing that we talked about was that for some reason, if you don't have some of the palettes, or if your toolbox is missing, you can always go to Window and go to Workspace, and you can say Reset Essentials. Then it will reset the user interface to the default mode. So you should be able to find the things that you need to find. The other thing is that even if you change the workspace, some of the keyboard shortcuts may not work if you have a change or so, or your preferences maybe set it differently. then you can consider resetting preferences. So according to Adobe website, you can hold Alt Control Shift on Windows or Option Command Shift on Mac while you're actually launching the software, and it will reset the preferences. It will not have any dialog box or confirmation boxes. It will just reset it to the default. Previous versions had sort of a confirmation boxes, but confirmation pop-up boxes, but this 2020 version does not have this, so it will just reset it. Maybe that's something that you can try, but just to remind you, this will reset most of everything. So all the settings that you had probably be gone, reset to the default. So just to make sure that. And lastly, you can also go into each directory and then reset the preferences file by deleting the actual files. So on Mac OS, it's under library, it's under user and the library. So typically it's hidden under user folder. So you need to go under Finder, go menu, go to folder, and then you have to type this in. So tilde/library, and that will go, and then you will have this hidden folder showed up, and you go to preferences and Adobe Illustrator 24 settings. You can delete this. So that's what it's saying here. So in the Windows case, you can just go to C drive and go to users and pick your user folder and just click on the address bar up here and then type app data. Then it will show these hidden folder. So here, click on the roaming and you should have the Adobe folder. Okay, let's look at the tools here. So the first tool, selection tool, it's just to select the entire object. And the next one, direct selection tool, that's white arrowhead. That's for selecting anchor points or the segments part of the object. And then pen tool. And it's just like the direct selection tool, pen tool has a little triangle lower right corner. It has a little triangle, meaning it has other tools to select. So we know that this anchor point tool that you can use to convert curve to corner, corner to a curve. So pen tool is here, and we'll just skip the curvature tool. And then again, we have a bunch of shape options and type tool, brush tool. We're not going to talk about that for now. And then we have a transformation tools, different options here. Then let's skip. And then we talked about Eyedropper tool to copy the style of the object, from colors to stroke thickness, etc. And we talked about magnifying glass, the zoom tool. So the default is zoom in, and if you hold on Alt or Option, then it toggles to zoom out. And I think the handle tool is under there. So you can use the hand tool to move the artboard around. And also when you have other tools selected, you can just simply hit space to bring up the hand. And then space bar plus command or control will bring up the zoom tool, and then again Option or Alt will make a zoom out. So let's draw a square or a square. Okay, square. You hold down Shift, then you can make square. If you release Shift, then you can create a rectangular shape. So let's make a square, and so that by default has some fill color, white fill color, and stroke color. To check that, you go to Window, Color, and then you have this two icons. This is for the fill color, and this is the stroke color. And also you can switch around this, and so it's just kind of flipping the colors, or you can switch the position so that you can actually change the color of the stroke color. If you need to change the fill color, then you can use just click on it and then just use this slider. To get the slider, you can go Options. So if you don't see it, you can just say Show Options. And if you're to use RGB or other color systems, you can use it. We're using it CMYK for convenience, Now, so the properties palette shows the stroke. We also have a palette for it. So we'll go Stroke, and again Show Options. We can change the weight, and we can change the caps and corners that we talked about, and dash the line. And then, so to resize it, you can just drag the corner. You can hold down Shift to make it proportionally scale, or you can just change the shape by releasing the Shift. Command Z. Now, Direct Selection Tool will select the entire object, and I'm sorry. So the Selection Tool will select the entire object, and Direct Selection Tool selects just a part of it. So, for example, right now we have only one anchor point selected, while the other ones hollow white, meaning not selected. If you can also, let's say, you can just bring it out like this. So you can also select just the segment of it. So in this case, I have selected the just this segment. So if I don't use the mouse and just use the keyboard arrow keys, I can move things just that segment. Okay, let's draw a few more shapes. So we talked about bring out the dialog box. So once you have some certain shape tool selected, and you can hold down Option and click, then you have this dialog box. You can actually input the numbers you like, the size wise, and also if you want to change the colors, we have swatches. So in this swatch palette, you can create a color and then actually bring it to the swatch. And let's see. So if I want this color to be saved, then I can just bring it here and then use it. And this is none, so there's no color. Or if you want to have a color, you can just use it like this. Again, circle or oval shape. So if you hold down Shift, you can make a circle, perfect circle. And if you hold down Option, then you're creating shape from the center of the object rather than upper left corner. So Again, this one too, you can hold down Option and click, Option or Alt, click, and bring out the dialog box. That. And then let's see, Polygon Tool. You can just click and drag, or Option click, and you can decide how many sides it's gonna have, and you can also set the radius like this. Again, a star tool. So this one, if I'm not holding anything, any key, and just click and drag, the star shape will be like this. And then if I hold down Option, it becomes a different shape here, like this. That's holding down the Option. So now that we have a bunch of objects, we talked about grouping them. So click and drag everything, and then go Object and Group. It'll just group all the objects together. If you want to release it, you can just say Ungroup, then it'll ungroup everything. I don't think that I talked about this in class, but let's see. Let's say if you group an object, group objects, and if you want to move just one of them or two, just part of them, then you could use Direct Selection tool by using just click on the color. It'll just select the object. You can also use Group Selection tool, although these are grouped. In this case, it will just select only the object that you're clicking on. So it's unlike this one. If you just click on this thing, it will select everything. So while we're at this, let's take a look at Eyedropper Tool. So let's say if I want to copy the color of this circle into this star, then you can just select the star first, and then you can just click on the color that you want to copy style from. So like this, okay, or like this. It could be multiple objects. I'm holding down Shift, so to select the multiple objects, and let me just use Eyedropper, which is keyboard shortcut I, then copy, click on it, and then I will copy the. And speaking of shortcuts, if from any tool, again, if you hold down spacebar, then it'll be a hand tool, and if you hold down Command, then it'll become the selection tool. So let's talk about pen tools a little bit. So pen tool, so whatever the style you have, it'll just inherit that, and it'll fill color automatically. And if you want to let's say if you want to leave the path open like that, not closing it. So to close it, you have to bring the pen tool to the first anchor point. Then the pen tool has a little loop closing mark, shows up on lower right corner. And so that's the closing the loop. Then, but let's say if you want to just leave, the loop open, then path open, then you can either hit Escape, or or you can hit Enter, or you could hit Command. So Command and click actually. So three options. You can hit Escape button, or Enter, or hold down Command and click. I'm used to escape because since I'm using my left hand to do all the keyboard shortcuts, so escape key is on the left side. So for me, it's more convenient. But if you're left-handed, however you want to change it, then you can just use different keys. Or actually, you can just change any keyboard shortcuts here. So you can just change the way you prefer. So let's say we have object open like this, and I decided to close it or continue drawing it. Then again, for pen tool, select pen tool and bring it to the anchor point, and you see the pen tool indicator changes, and you just click on it and then continue drawing. So let's say if you want to add more anchor points, then you have option just to bring your pen tool over any path. Then you see it changes to plus sign, meaning you can adding the anchor point. And like you see right now, if you bring over to any anchor point, the existing anchor point, then you can delete anchor point. So like this. So plus and minus sign shows whether you can add or delete. By adding more, you can reshape the object. Now let's try our curve. So to draw curve, instead of continuously click, you click and drag it to the direction where your curve should be. So let's say if you drag it up direction like this, then the curve will draw like this way, and again like this, and it will go down this way. So click and drag, and you see these handle. Now let's just select the direct selection tool, and this is called the Bezel Handle. You can control the curvature of the line by moving this handle. So we talked about the direction of it. So like if I bring this down, then the line will go up this way. If we had a line, another segment there. So click and drag. And we talked about, let's say, let me just add another point. We talked about converting the curve to a corner by click on using this tool, anchor point tool. If you just click once, it'll just make a corner, and the handle will disappear. But let's say if you click not on the anchor point, but click on the tip of a handle, then you can actually control the corner. So you can still keep the curve and the handle to control the curve. Now on there's another handle on the other side, opposite side, but you shouldn't use this anchor point tool. If I click on it, then it will convert back to the curve. So you want to convert it, and then to control the corner, you need to use a direct selection tool. So just regard this as it'll only convert things. Surprisingly, this. So if you click on the anchor, then it will convert. Okay, let's try drawing our heart shape. Okay, so let's start with a circle. I'm gonna use Shift and Option, holding that Shift and Option and click drag to have a perfect circle. And let me just color it. See, let's get rid of it. So now I have this line. Just bring this anchor point down, and then I'm gonna convert the anchor point to a corner point. And again, with a direct selection tool, bring out the handle. Do that. And now this one, I need to just convert it. You can just click on the anchor point once and be done with it. Or if you want more of control, then you can convert it by moving the handle. Again, with the direct selection tool, like this. Like this. And now if you want to have a symmetrical heart shape, then we talked about just deleting one side by deleting one of the anchor points. So this anchor point connects to this anchor point and this. So this segment and this segment has to go. You can click and drag the segment to select and then hit delete, or you can just select the anchor point and hit delete, then it'll disappear. Let me just fix this thing real quick here. Okay. Now this is on one side, so we'll use the reflection tool here and here. And we'll just want to make sure that the axis will be the center of the object, the final object. So I'm just gonna, for the convenience, I'll just click on the anchor and then I can just flip it. But here, if I want to be exact 90 degrees, then I could hold down Shift. Also, make a copy of it, I should hold down Option. You see the arrow changes, and hold down Option and then let mouse click go. Now, I think there was a slight shift here so that it's not meeting, but it should supposed to meet like this. And now to join these two anchor points, because there are two, so we select both of them by click and drag, and then Command J to join. So we talked about it here, path and join, average, and different options. Outline, stroke, and offset path, all these are very convenient tools. And again, this one we can join, but it will join by adding another path here. So what we want to do is bring these two together. So let's see if we can average it. So path and average, bring it together, and then Command J. So that's all under path, join, and average. So you have a shape, heart shape there. All right, let's try to draw a flower. So let's just delete this. So before we get into drawing a flower, let's see how we use transformational tool. So let's see, I have rectangular, for example. Then rotation tool, I can click anywhere in the artboard, and then you can use that point as axis, rotational axis, and then click and drag to rotate the object. So you can do it from the center or outside of the object, like this. So let's say I click on here, this. If I click on here, it'll rotate from that clicked point. So also you can use dialog box. Let's say if I want to rotate from this point as an axis, I can just hold, like while I have my cursor at my where the position is, and then hold down Option to bring out the dialog box. So hold on Option and then click. So this object will rotate this as axis based on the angle, the degree that I put in here. So say if I 50, I can preview it. Now when you preview it, after insert the number, you just hit tab. So actually the number is input, and then you can just click on preview to see how much of it. You can just click on it and be done with, or you can copy. Transformational tool works in the same way. So scale tool, you can scale from the center or outside of it, or you can bring out the dialog box and then decide whether uniform scale or non-uniform. Okay, and so that these transformational tool, they work in the same way. To draw the flower, let's just start with a circle. And this one, I'll just have the fill color. Let's see. Well, I'll just use yellow. And then to draw the flower petal, you can draw around here. Now, I know it's not centered with this object, so we talked about just to click and drag, and then just gonna rely on the smart guides. It'll snap to the center. Also, you can use window and then align. So you can use align tool. So for example, if you want to align them center, then you can select both of objects and then click on this thing and it will align. Let's say if you want to align, flush left and flush right, like this. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Just follow the images and you can try it. It's under window, align. Now, so we want to make these two pointy, so we'll just use this tool, anchor point tool, and just click once because we don't need a handle for now. And we are going to rotate this object around it. So the axis should be the circle's center. So it's rotation tool, and I'll bring out the dialog box by holding the option key or alt key, and then click. So now I have to decide how many degrees. So I'll just do 30 degrees. So we'll probably have a 12 objects around, and let's just see, preview. It looks good. And then instead of OK, we want to make a copy. Now here, while the object is still selected, highlighted, we can use object, transform again, Command D, and it will just follow exact same numbers, 30 degrees, and copy, and then do the operation once more. So Command D, number of times, just hit Command D, and you're finished with the flowers. Now in this case, you do want to group it so that it works as a one object. And if you want to change the color, then color of the center or something, then use the direct selection tool, because since this object is all grouped, if you change the color, then it will change everything. So we're going to use a direct selection tool and then change the color like this. Okay, so let's trace the logo. So I'm going to use zoom tool to zoom out just to see the whole page, artboard, and I think I'm gonna just close swatches. So go File, Place, and Place. So link, unlink. So whether you want to link this image or embed the image into the document, that you can just choose. I'll just link it, and if you don't see it, then you can just click on the options. And okay. And now I have this thing pops up, so I can just click and drag where it should be. Oops. Now the images here, if I want to trace it, then I would have to lock this image. So I can just create a second layer by click on the, let's see, I click on this button here, or delete layer or create a layer like this, and then I could start drawing the objects on the layer 2. The layers, you can use the visibility toggle button, or again, like next to it is the lock, so you can just lock it. Once you locked it, then you can't really click on the object. So it's good to it's good when you try to trace the objects. So let's zoom in a little bit. Click and drag. Now with the pen tool, we're gonna go clockwise. So we're gonna drag this way first. So this, and so as you can see, it's filling the color. So if you don't like it, then you can just go none for the fill color, and we probably want to see the line that's being drawn. So we can do this, and then click and drag. Now we would have to make it sharp, pointy. So here we're gonna use the anchor point tool. So the holding the Option or Alt will change pen tool to a conversion tool. So like this, and then bring the handle down, and then continue draw. So you release the Option button and you continue draw. Click and drag here. Option, hold down Option or Alt, let it go. Again, holding down Option. Command Z. Let me just draw it again here. Holding the Option. Okay, good. So it probably not perfectly drawn if I just check it. So yeah, the line's kind of little, you know, it's not as smooth as it should be. So we can fix it by using this tool. So it's a little difficult with the snapping on. So you go View and uncheck the snap to point. So you can move the handle. Let me just turn off the smart guide too, actually. I'll turn it off so that like now it's truly smoother without snapping. So zoom in a little bit. Perhaps I shouldn't. This just idea is just to making it a little bit smoother. So here I could see some problem here and here. So it's kind of hard to select the handle. Okay. I think this I pulled out too much so that it becomes a little more like, so this is pulling this curve out and this bar is pushing this curve down, so that this feels like this almost kind of flat straight line. So I think I need to come down a little bit and then pull this up a little bit just to have a more curve here. And then this one, let's see, this one I feel like it pulled out a little bit. Okay, doesn't look quite good. Maybe we need another point actually. Maybe. So let's try adding another point. Select the path first so that you get the plus sign on. So I added and then come back here. Okay. Looks a little better. So this is really just a trial and error and fine tuning. Yes, there are some other tools perhaps make it a little bit easier, but I think you know, the knowing how to use pen tool is very, very important for not only for the Illustrator but in Adobe CC softwares. Pen tool is kind of a thing that often that you have to use, so it'll be good if you get used to how to deal with a path. Again, here clearly there's something wrong, and I'm gonna see what's going on here. So it looks slightly better. I think this pulled out a little too much. So, and perhaps I need another anchor point, or maybe it looks fine as is. Okay, overall, it's the lines are slightly better. I mean, I guess I could fine tune more, but for the purpose of the class exercise, I think this is good enough. I mean, you can see this part is still a problem. This part looks a little flat. So yes, you can fix those with smooth tool. So if you click on more tools, there's a smooth tool here. I could just click and drag into the palette. So maybe I'll just put it here. So with this tool, what it does is making the path smoother. Like this.